Greetings, I'm the man behind the mask, and I'd like to talk to you about hockey. Well, the first round of playoff action is done and over with, and we can now take a look at what has transpired so far this postseason, as well as speculate on what will happen in the next round. But this is not a subject I can broach alone, so it's time to call in some support. Patch me through to the West Coast. PK?
Go away.
Come on, PK, it isn't that bad.
I can't show my face on camera. My team.
Well, history was made. You even said so yourself.
Damn it. You're right.
There you go. So, are we good?
Yeah. Let's get this over with.
Good. So, let's start our look at the first round of playoff action with the Western Conference and the Canucks and Kings. Okay, PK, that's enough.
I'm sorry. I'll stop. I swear.
Well, this was certainly one of the biggest surprises to come out of the first round. I know very few people saw this one coming, and I'm sure there are many people with betting pools going on that are not happy because of it. But I think it was more of a matter of LA choosing the right time of the year to really step up their game than Vancouver choking. As I said during our predictions, LA needed to increase their offensive output in order to have a chance. And in games 1 and 2, they did just that, with Brown, Carter, and Richards coming up big. But even when their goal scoring dropped in games 3, 4, and 5, the unbelievable play of Jonathan Quick is what still gave them wins in 2 of those 3 games. Though Vancouver didn't play horribly, they just couldn't seem to beat Quick, and as a result have now fallen to the President's Trophy curse.
Wow. Daryl Sutter's back in a big way. He's got Jonathan Quick between the pipes. He's got all his players working together as a unified team. The penalty kill was amazing, and by game 3 I even caught myself saying that this looks very familiar, like a very strong Calgary team back in '04 when they made it to the finals. I really think that if Daryl Sutter keeps his boys in line, you can see a strong contender making it to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Moving on, we have St. Louis and San Jose. Though it seemed like San Jose would have the experience and muscle to take St. Louis down after winning Game 1 in double overtime, St. Louis pulled their act together and really tightened down defensively to win the next 4 games in a row. Even with their starting goaltender Yaroslav Halak going down in Game 2, their backup Brian Elliott was more than up to the task of taking over a net. Combine that with the huge offensive efforts of Andy McDonald and Patrick Berglund, and St. Louis is heading to the second round for the first time in 10 years.
San Jose wasn't looking that great, and even though they won 1 game, St. Louis came back and just took over. This is a team that I actually was grateful that the Canucks didn't beat in the first round. Granted, I wasn't expecting LA to do that great, but that's a different story. So right now as it stands, St. Louis is doing really well. They're going to be coming up against some other competition in the next round. Let's see if they change their style up or if they actually keep it the same way. because I think they might need to look at a little different way of playing for the next round.
Next up is Phoenix and Chicago. I'll be honest, I was really caught off guard by the sheer will of the Coyotes and the unbelievable performance of Mike Smith and net. They forced Chicago to be the team that had to tie things up in order to send it into overtime in 4 of the 5 games that went to overtime. And once there, they were able to get 2 overtime winners from Michael Boddicker, plus another from Martin Hanzal. Like Vancouver and Detroit, Chicago ran into a roadblock that took the form of the opposition's goaltender, and are now heading home early because of that.
Well, Chicago, you proved me wrong. Not in a good way either. You were shoved out in the first round. However, it's good to see that Phoenix made it to the next round, and Chicago didn't. I think Chicago's just had a humbling experience of what happened, and Phoenix is walking on water pretty much right now. Granted, the next round is not going to be so easy for Phoenix, so they've really got to buckle down and do some really hard playing. I mean, you can't really expect to be good in all the overtimes. You did good in this time, but the next one, you may not find yourself so lucky. We'll see what happens. And Chicago, I chose you. What happened? Oh well, there's always next year.
And now we come to the final series in the West between Nashville and Detroit. Now, I figured that this series would have been much closer than it ended up being, but I guess I underestimated Nashville's goaltender, Pekka Rinne. Detroit did have a problem with starting off slow in the first 3 games, but even when they did get going, it seemed like they couldn't even buy a goal. That, combined with a few unlucky bounces and defensive mistakes, ended up giving Nashville that slight edge, which ended up being all that they needed to win 4 of the 5 games in the series. If Rinne and the Predators' defense keep up this level of play, then they'll have a very good chance to build on this bit of playoff success.
Well, Detroit's out in the first round again. Now, you know, however many times they have bought their cups, they can't seem to do it in the past few years. They've really got to go back to the drawing board this year over the off season and see if they can do anything better next year. They think they've got the power, but they don't. When it comes to playoff time, you know, they're not in it, no matter what. Nashville, congratulations to make it to the second round. It's good to see that you guys did something, and your goaltender, oh, wow. I'm looking forward to seeing what he has in the next, in round 2. So for now, sorry Detroit, you got a lot of work to do in the off season.
Okay, now let's switch over to the Eastern Conference. And the first matchup there, the New York Rangers and the Ottawa Senators. Now, this series certainly went on much longer than I expected, and thanks to outstanding efforts from Anderson, Spezza, and Neal, the Senators came a hair's breadth away from sending the Rangers the way of the Canucks. But fortunately for just about anyone filling out a bracket prediction, New York was able to tough it out and advance to the second round. Though some might now question the Rangers' ability to make a long playoff run after this series, I think they have grown more as a team because of it, and will now be more dangerous moving on.
Imagine 2 number 1 teams eliminated from the playoffs in the first round. That was almost the case this time. New York Rangers and Ottawa. Ottawa had New York Rangers on the ropes. However, in the 7th game, the Rangers came back, scored 2 goals within 4 minutes of each other, and they didn't look back. Ottawa tried to solve the riddle, but they just couldn't do it. So overall, right now, Ottawa is now going back to the drawing board for the off-season. Rangers are now advancing, and I got a feeling that if they played this well in the 7 games, you think they're going to start coming on a little bit stronger, hopefully, for round 2. We can only find out and see.
Moving on now, we have Boston and Washington. And you can color me surprised yet again with this series. Both teams played amazing defensively, But in the end, it was Washington that was able to catch that single additional break in overtime of Game 7 to give them the win. Also, their playoff rookie goaltender Braden Holtby, who I thought would be one of their downfalls, ended up being the main reason that they won this series. In fact, I can almost see shades of the 1971 Boston-Montreal matchup, in which Montreal used an untested goaltender by the name of Ken Dryden to beat the heavily favored defending Stanley Cup champion Bruins in 7 games. If Holtby keeps this up, we could be witnessing the rise of one of the next great netminders in the NHL.
Na 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 na, na 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 na, hey hey hey, goodbye Boston. Okay, so I'm a little happy about that. Even though I picked Boston to go on to the second round, Washington did me a favor. They took out Boston. And I'm happy. I'm really happy. It kind of sobered them up a little bit. And that and all the fans. Funny, people said that about Vancouver fans too. Anyways, Washington, they made it to the second round. However, I don't think they're making it out of this round. They kind of fluked out to get it past the first round. Boston's a tough team. They really are. But yeah, the next round, I don't think they're going to be so lucky. Guess we'll find out. Bye-bye, Boston. We'll see you next year too.
Next up is Florida and New Jersey. I don't know what New Jersey's deal was in this series, because they had the tendency to jump to a quick lead in a few of the games, but then they would almost sit back, allowing the Panthers to close the gap and get back into the game. Thanks to this method of playing, it was the Devils that ended up having to force a Game 7, and even in that game, they would blow a lead late in the third period and come one shot away from losing. But luckily for them, they were able to hold it together long enough to net the winner in double overtime to advance to the next stage of the playoffs.
You know, for the East, it seems like 7 games is quite a theme right now. I mean, look at Florida and New Jersey. Once again, seven games. However, Florida didn't make it out this round. Another big upset. So, New Jersey passes on for the next round. Florida, I have to give them credit where credit is due. They had an amazing season. They did really well for themselves, and in all honesty, they shouldn't be ashamed of anything. New Jersey, they know how to play in the playoffs, and well, they did just that. So, overall, Florida, congratulations for making it to the playoffs in such high regards. Sorry about losing. New Jersey, I hope Roeder's got your back, because the next round is not going to be as fun as this one has been.
And last but not least is arguably the most talked about series in the opening round, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. Now, I knew this series was going to be crazy, but I didn't think it would be in this manner. Of the 6 games played, 3 of them seem more like those occasional blowout games that you see in the regular season and think, man, I would hate to be either goaltender in this match. I mean, 8-4, 8-5, 10-3, those are not the types of scores you expect to see in a playoff hockey game. Still, besides the goaltending not being much to speak of for either team, this was an interesting series. In the first 3 games, it almost seemed like Philly was waiting to see what type of strategy Pittsburgh was going to play before they struck. Because though Pittsburgh came out fast and hard and took the lead quickly in those 3 games, Philly just came right back and stole it in the end. I will say, though, that Pittsburgh's 10-3 "we aren't dead yet" statement in Game 4 was epic and more than humiliating for Philly. But by the time the Flyers were back in front of their home crowd for Game 6, the shock that still had them rattled in Game 5 had worn off, and Philly was once again able to regroup and deliver that final blow to the Penguins. I can only wonder if this weird offensive display will carry over to their next series.
Since when did they have the NFL and the NHL? Seriously, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh? What the hell? I don't know what the hell went on there, but if you ask me, scores like 8-5, 8-3, 10-3, what is up with that? That's just insane. I don't know. If you really want to find some good offense, look at this series. They didn't break any records. They came close, but they didn't break any records. But overall, Philadelphia was the stronger team, and they took Pittsburgh out just like I thought they would. Because Sidney Crosby not being in the lineup for so long, you kind of lose that chemistry. However, Philadelphia is the victor here, and they're going to try their rough and tumble ways in the next round. I hope they understand that the next round is going to be a little bit more, oh, I don't know, less offense, more defense. I'm just putting it out there, Philly. The goaltender that you're going to come up next is not going to be as nice as the one that Pittsburgh had.
Okay, that's all she wrote for the first round of playoff action. Now let's take a look at the second round matchups. Starting in the West, we are definitely seeing a different picture than we have over the past 10 years, with none of the teams remaining having ever won a cup, and 2 of the 4 having never even made it to the finals. Looking at the first match between St. Louis and LA, after what both of these teams showed in the first round, it is going to be a very tough call. Though Jonathan Quick has shown that he can practically carry his team, if he is not on the absolute top of his game, then I don't know about LA's chances. I'm going to go with St. Louis in 6 games because I think they're the more complete package as a team. Next is a match never before seen in the playoffs, Phoenix and Nashville. This is as far as either team has ever gotten in the playoffs, and they are both unbelievably determined to build on what they have done in the first round, and they've both got the all-star goaltenders to make that happen. Though Phoenix has shown a very fierce drive thus far in the playoffs, and their goaltender Mike Smith has seemed almost unbeatable, I'm going to go with the Nashville Predators in 7 games, because I think in this battle of the goalies, Pecorine will prove to be the superior netminder. What do you think, PK?
So first up, we have St. Louis and LA. Now this is going to be a battle of will over power. St. Louis has the power and LA has the will. They've got Daryl Sutter behind the bench and they've got the will to win it. However, I don't know if St. Louis will fully understand what LA is bringing to the table. Just like Vancouver, they think they've got the confidence behind them, but they don't. They should really start studying some tapes because LA is going to come in with this style that no one's seen in a very long time during the playoffs. It's going to be more of an aggressive defensive style. And overall, I think St. Louis is going to get caught off guard by this. So if you ask me, I think LA is going to make it to the next round, and they're going to do it in about 6 games. Phoenix and Nashville. 2 teams who have really not been past the second round in the playoffs. Phoenix, who has not been past the first round of the playoffs. Now, Nashville, I think is going to try as hard as they can to take out Phoenix. They've got the goaltender, and they could probably do it. But Phoenix, if you ask me, is going to have a solution for their goaltending. They're going to have the offense that's going to stun Nashville. And I don't see Nashville making it out of this series at all. In fact, I think in about 6 games you'll see Phoenix rise up from out of the sun, yes, I went there, and overcome and make it to the next round.
Alright, let's again turn over to the East, and the first matchup there between New York and Washington. As I said before, I think the trial that the Rangers went through with the Senators in the first round has strengthened them as a team, and I fully expect them to be on the top of their game for this series. But the X factors that are Braden Holtby and the tight defense of the Capitals could still give Washington a very good chance of ousting another top-seeded team. For this one though, I'm going to stick with my overall predictions from before the first round and say New York will take this in 7 games. And finally, we have Philadelphia against New Jersey. I have no doubt that this match between these Atlantic Division rivals will get intense. But unless the Devils can really button down defensively to stop the insane offense of the Flyers, then I'm going to say that Philadelphia will win this series in 6 games. How about you, PK?
Now, Washington barely made it out of the first round. Granted, so did the Rangers, but I think the Rangers have the advantage on this one. They've got the goaltending. Washington has a little bit behind them. They've got the offense, but they don't have the defense. So I think that's going to be their major downfall. Rangers, they're going to show why they are the #1 team, and unfortunately, Washington is going to go down in about 6 games. Next up, we have Philly and New Jersey. Now, Philly's a strong team physically. They know how to get the offense working. However, they're going up against a very strong goaltender, and he always has been. Brodor's been solid in net when it comes to the playoffs. That being said, on the other side, for Philly, the goaltending has been less than stellar. It's been pretty much subpar. And I think New Jersey's going to take advantage of that, and they're going to really show Philly what it's like to score and what it's like not to be able to be scored on. This is going to frustrate Philly, and I think they're going to make many mistakes over the period of the series. And I think New Jersey's going to take this one in 5. Philly's not going to know what's hit them, and they're actually going to just have a horrible series, and they'll be eliminated from the playoffs after 5 games.
And there they are, our predictions for the second round, which starts later today. And though my 5 and 8... And there they are, our predictions for the second round, which starts later today. And though my 5 for 8 record in the first round predictions is a bit of a drop from going 8 for 8 last year, considering some of the truly unexpected upsets in this round, I know I'm not alone in making a few errors of judgment. But hey, the element of unpredictability is what truly makes the playoffs a treat to watch. Thanks for joining me today, PK, and hopefully we'll do better predicting this round than we did in the first.
Well, it's less games now, and overall, who knows what's going to happen. However, we have less predictions to make, and maybe we actually might make a few right ones this time. But I'm going to take any stat that's been in the regular season and just toss it out the window. I'm actually going to grab a pair of dice and just roll it. I think we'll have better luck with that with this series. Anyways, I'm glad to see that I'm back, and hopefully we'll see you again for the 3rd round. And let's see if our predictions stuck this time.
Well, that's all for now. See you guys again after the second round.